The new guidelines from the USDA and Department of Health and Human Services are supposed to tell you what to eat, but critics say they're muddled and confusing, and not by accident.
The government has actually, the committee has ignored a lot of important data, for example, on saturated fat, on low-carb diets.
You certainly did not use some of the most recent peer-reviewed and published nutrition and diet-related science. It was not even considered by the advisory committee.
There was zero randomized control evidence to recommend to Americans to remove the fat from our diet, and that's how the carbs got added in.
So we've increased our carbohydrate consumption over the last 30 years by 25%. So we've really shifted the way that we eat.
We've had these guidelines that have pushed people away from eggs and butter and milk and so forth, and then they come back and say, well, we were wrong. What are we going to do to make sure that doesn't happen in the future?
It was essentially a huge experiment on millions of people, and it failed miserably.
From my constituents, most of them don't believe this stuff anymore. You have lost your credibility with a lot of people.
Hopefully the next time the question will be asked, are the guidelines themselves contributing to the problem?
The Nutrition Coalition is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that aims to ensure that the dietary guidelines are based in the best and most rigorous science. And we want to do that by the next iteration of the guidelines in 2020.
Since they were introduced in 1980, rates of obesity and diabetes have skyrocketed, really with no end in sight.
The dietary guidelines are really the single most powerful lever on what Americans eat. They control what goes into the USDA feeding programs, so that includes school lunch programs, feeding programs for the elderly, but really most importantly, those guidelines are downloaded by all the professional associations for healthcare. So your doctor, your nutritionist, your dietitian, everybody practicing healthcare on the front lines for Americans, they get their nutritional advice directly from the guidelines.
We do not endorse any one diet. We simply want the guidelines to reflect the best science. Wherever the science leads, we will follow.
What can you do to help? Well, you can sign up for our newsletter, Stay Informed. You can make a donation. Remember that we do not take any industry money, so we rely on you. You can also sign our petition. We have a list of dietary guideline recommendations that are not evidence-based, and you can be part of the movement that helps reform the guidelines so that we can have a healthier America.